you just dug a huge hole and put some toxic materials right in my neighborhood. And now my whole community is affected.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
So, I really thought that social media would be the route, even back then, to let people know this is what's going on.
Before we get into this episode, I know you've been struggling with the idea of starting your own business and launching a premium product that you know is going to transform lives. So I have a bomb resource for you. The man himself, Words Taylor, is going to help you launch your product or service for the clients who need your help right now. Now, you can't call yourself a business owner unless you are getting in front of new clients every single day, and Words knows exactly how to do that. All you have to do is tap in so he can teach you his 6-figure launch strategy that's produced over $5 million in client sales. So all you have to do is go to highticketlaunchsecrets.com. That's highticketlaunchsecrets.com and get into the free training. It's happening this week. So go to highticketlaunchsecrets.com and let's get into the episode. Welcome to another episode of the Work and Play Podcast. I'm your host, Ariel Young, and we have an amazing soul. Now, I don't often get a chance to talk to you on social media, but every interaction that we have is a deep one, right? It's like we might only spend 5 words speaking to each other, but it feels like we've made a connection and we're maintaining. And I think that's the value of social media, which a lot of people don't know. So for those of you guys who don't know, I'm going to let you introduce your own name, but I met this woman a couple months ago in the beginning of our, well, not the beginning, but in early stages of our entrepreneurial journey. And we got to connect, and she's going to lay us a whole bunch of sauce on us, as well as give us a little bit of her journey. So without further ado, please take it away.
Yes, so I'm Naya Peoples, Naya B, a lot of people call me, and I am the owner of a content agency, content marketing agency, as people say, all these titles, right, for what we do.
Right, and it's evolving.
Yes, as time goes on. But I create content for people, creative entrepreneurs who are looking to promote their brands on social media. So generally the content that I create is video content as well as podcast content for creatives like you.
Yes, let's get into that, because I have so many questions. Like, you got your start on the agency side, so we're digging into your past career.
Yes.
But right now, the way you help entrepreneurs is, my business is set up with a bunch of different arms. I have my podcasting, I have the coaching, I have my social media presence, and then I also have my real life brand, right? And there's always, for me, I think it would be such a relief to have one person understand the entire strategy. Then I can just be the talent.
Yes.
Do you communicate? Is that the value that you see yourself bringing, or am I missing something?
No, that is perfect. And you say it better than I could.
Because I need it.
I generally really, really want creatives to be creative. I feel like that's the part that they really love to do, right? Yeah. And it's like all the extra stuff is not really the fun stuff, right? Yeah. It's like I want to focus on what my podcast is going to be about, what this episode is going to be about. I don't want to think about how this needs to be edited. So I enjoy doing the background work and allowing the creative to shine.
That's beautiful. Okay, I'm excited to get into this conversation. And it reminds me of one of the first posts that we connected on. It was back in the day when my content was still it was on training wheels, baby. But I put a post up, and I was actually proud of it because it came directly from my mind. Okay. But it was just an affirmation that I am a creative. So many times I come from you remember?
Yes, I know.
It was I am not a creative, and I slashed out not.
Yes.
Because I come from the background of a data analyst, which is why I do a lot of the work that I would love for you to do, because I don't enjoy it, but I got my spreadsheet, I got my editing process,
Excel, that's your bread and butter.
I use Airtable. Yes, it's a database, so you would be impressed. I'm gonna show you.
Okay.
Because you could probably even use it for your clients, but I came from a data analytics background, so I never connected with creative until I created this program. What's your, so I'm gonna tell you a little bit more. Okay. This program, it's not like an artsy program. I literally created this professional development program. Okay. And from that I said, my homegirl said, you created that. And I was like, yo,
I did that.
I did something. So that's for me where I put that post to say, hey, I am a creative and I want other people to know that they can identify as a creative, even if it's not like this mural.
Right.
So what's been your relationship with identifying as a creative?
Oh my goodness. So I feel like in from that post, right? I reposted it because I think, to your point, so many people don't see themselves as creatives. But creativity is something that I think everyone possesses, right? Yeah. So like I identify with creativity in the sense of, like you said, something as simple as an idea. And being able to articulate that idea, I feel like that is the creative process, right? Yeah. Everybody displays that differently. So you have a data analyst that may get some numbers together, right? And that spreadsheet is creativity.
Yes.
Because you have to be able to translate it in a way that other people can understand. Yes. And so that's how I kind of view creativity in general. And from that post, I was like, yes, everyone, you literally are creative.
Yes, it was, I don't know, it was such and I'm glad I remembered that because that's essentially like a great connecting point. So for you specifically though, were you raised in the traditionally known creative sense, or did you also have a more non-traditional creative background?
So I would say a lot of my family, just immediate family. My dad, my older brother is a graphic designer. My dad used to always like draw and paint and stuff like that. So I would say I come from very creative people. And I used to just watch them do it all the time. And I remember following my older brother around being like, I can draw too. Like, I can do it too. He is a lot better than me in that sense. But I used to show my creativity through entrepreneurship from a young age. So I used to create a lot of like bracelets and stuff like that when I was a kid and sell it in front of my house, set up my table. I had my little sign, couldn't tell me nothing.
Now, who triggered that entrepreneurial spirit in you, if you think back to it?
My dad says he doesn't know where I came from. But I would say Girl Scouts, actually. I was in the Girl Scouts, and I know they used to tell you back in the day not to go door to door, but you couldn't stop me from doing that.
I'm gonna get myself.
Yes. So I used to do Girl Scouts and those programs in school where you can raise enough money to get like these little toys and trinkets or whatever.
Like the March of Dimes or all of the thons.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Just so you can get these toys that were probably like $5, but you
gonna sell it, do a little fundraiser, get all your money in the envelopes.
Yes. So I would say schools and programs really introduce entrepreneurship to me.
Okay, I love it. I'm realizing. So I was a Scout's honor.
Okay.
I was a Girl Scout.
My honor. I will try
to serve God and my country. Okay. But what I'm realizing is I might not have bought into the journey so early.
Gotcha.
So something in you said this is fun.
Yes.
Can you remember your thought process to start thinking because this was before you knew it was entrepreneurship?
I did not know it was entrepreneurship back then.
What were you thinking in your mind? You wake up in the morning, you have this entrepreneurial day, I'm going to set my table up outside. You know what I mean?
Look.
What were you thinking during that time?
Honestly, I think I really just enjoyed the process as a kid. Anything from, like I said, setting up my table to garage sales or whatever I saw in the neighborhood, I'm going to do that and sell my toys. I think it was just the process really. And then being able to, back then, and I'm not super aged, but back then things were not as expensive when you went to the corner store. So if I got $1 or $2, I would go up to 7-Eleven and get my snacks. So that was super exciting for me.
You had a whole day planned. She's I'm going to buy breakfast at the store. I'm going to set up at work.
Yes, National Slurpee Day. I'm going to get my $1 so that I can go up to the Slurp and get me a few Slurpees after I pay for my first one.
Yeah.
Get me a pack of gum, 25 cents. That was my thing. Let me just get some extra cash. And I think I also noticed my dad is an immigrant. He's from Panama. And just seeing how hard he used to work, to me it was okay, this is how you get money. You have to work hard. let me go ahead and try to do this. So
okay, wait. So your dad says he doesn't know where you get it from. So
Yes.
he's a hard worker. He has a hard ethic. But was he a 9-to-5er?
yes,
Ah, okay. So both of your parents were 9-to-5ers.
yes,
Got you. What was it like growing up? Because you would be first generation from Panama, right?
yes. First generation American.
Got you. And growing up with the dad, what type of like values do you remember him being like, you're going to go to school or you're going to get this type of degree? Like, what was the lessons that you grew up learning?
Oh my God. Well, so my dad is actually who raised me. So majority of my life. And he was really, I feel like he was a little harder on me than my siblings.
Are you the only girl?
Yes. Yes. But I'm also the only one that really, I think, showed that like, oh, I can do this kind of thing. He was like, my brothers, he kind of let them do their thing. But I always showed the initiative, I think, to get into certain things. And he'd be like, what? Okay, well, I'm going to push you in this direction kind of thing. But my dad was really big on grades. For me, anyway, I would bring back a 90 and he'd be like, it's not 100.
Oh, okay.
But it's an A.
Like, those are not good in my house.
No. So, I mean, but I think he was pushing me because he knew I could do it.
Yeah.
So, I remember just like talking to teachers at times and being like, look, I know this is a 99. Can I do extra credit to make it an A, like 100%? The teacher was like, you got an A, sweetheart. Why are you trying?
Did they let you do it though?
No, they were like, go sit down. And then of course in class, all the students that I was cool with would be like, nah, you doing too much. Like, why are you, sit down.
Listen, you've been ambitious from the beginning.
Yes.
So then tell me a little bit, like, why do you think your dad, because they say, mothers raise their daughters and love on their sons. And here you have your dad like raising you to be the best businesswoman you can be. And then I'm not sure what your brothers were doing, but like, why do you think he chose you? I know like you showed the initiative, but when you think about the dynamic between your brothers and you, are you the only girl?
Yes.
Like, what was that difference? Like, what did you see him be hard on them, but just in different ways?
Yes.
What was that like?
I would say like, I don't know. My older brother, he was like I said, he was into art. He went to school for graphic design. So I think the way he pushed him was more so just like that tough love, like you're gonna be a man kind of thing. And in America, especially with people of color, black people to be specific, you have, as a young man, you have to be a certain way. And so being my dad being an immigrant, I think, and coming to this country, there was just a certain level of expectation that he expected from my brothers in that sense. The way they carried themselves, how to treat a young lady kind of thing.
Nice.
Me though, it was like, you need to take care of yourself. I feel like he raised me to be very independent. And so even the path he really wanted me to go down was he wanted me to be a doctor. And so I tried to pursue that as long as I could, but it was not my path. But I think it was just, he saw that I was doing well in school and my brothers weren't as well, they didn't do that well in school. My younger brother, it came very easy to him, but it wasn't his thing. So he just pushed me in that sense. I think with each one of his children, he saw what they were good at, and that's what he put emphasis on.
I love that. That's exactly what I was going to say. It sounds like your dad was intentional about pushing you in the area you were already exerting effort. Whereas a lot of people, and then your dad comes from Panama, which typically immigrant parents can be super traditional without the flexibility. Like, no, this is how you need to be successful in America.
Right.
And they miss out on the nuance of children. So it really does sound like he was like, okay, she's doing that, let me push her in that. He wants to do this, let me push him in that. So just as we wrap up like childhood stuff, would you say, because every childhood comes out with like trauma, nothing's perfect,
right? But
when you think about the energy that he put into you guys from a career perspective, Do you feel like everybody pretty much landed where they were supposed to?
I feel like my older brother, yes. He's extremely like just talented. And I'm not just saying that, like he's very talented. My younger brother, it actually surprised us. He wanted to be an actor. Now my dad wasn't super stoked about that. He didn't know anybody that did it, so it was kind of like my brother was really trailblazing. But actually recently he just joined the military, and we were like, Brandon? Like coming from this actor background, very goofy, fun guy, to he's actually in like special forces, like Green Beret, like very serious type of work. He's the only one I think that surprised everyone. But yeah.
That's interesting. You know, I had thought I wanted to go to the military, and I was thinking of all the rational reasons to go. And then I thought of like, just do I want like the type of structure that I want? I was like, do I want that type of structure? And ultimately I decided I didn't. So thank the Lord. But I think it's interesting how people find their way to like the military and those type of roles. Sometimes it's an escape. Sometimes for me, it was a type of personal development type of thing. So it's interesting. Everybody, and then the way that I asked you the question about people being where they're supposed to be, we're always where we're supposed to be.
Exactly.
I think it's just interesting. Sometimes our parents raise us.
They see you a certain a certain way,
but we end up finding our own path. But you guys got to start early. So thinking about your journey from the young entrepreneur, and we're making our way to adulthood. Dad wanted us to be a doctor, and you said you tried it as hard as you could. So what does that mean?
I went to school, undergrad, Florida A&M. I am a diehard Rattler. I'm trying to keep it together.
Listen, good, let it out. I love it.
But I started off pre-med, and it just that first semester, it was not it. I remember getting a few C's and being like, oh no, this is not, I'm an AB student. This ain't it.
Yeah.
And this is extremely hard.
For no reason. In your mind, like.
Yeah, like what is this? I want to help people, but maybe this is not the capacity I want to get into.
Wow.
Yes.
You had that insight at that stage?
Once I got them grades, yes I did.
Okay, take heed. Okay.
And I remember at the time I would go and sit in my friends' classes just for the fun of it. This is why I'm saying like school was always my thing. So I would go to like my junior and senior level friends' classes and answer questions and stuff. The teacher would be like, you ain't paying for this course.
Wait, what was the class? Like, what was the name of the classes?
So I went to a lot of political classes. So at the time I was very much into politics.
Yeah.
And that's actually where I got my undergrad degree in political science and public relations.
Okay. So you ended up switching through like engaging. I'm just imagining a student who's not there, but the teacher being like,
yes, answer.
Right. I will allow it.
Yeah. The freshmen in these, what year are you in? Yes.
That was lit.
Yes.
And so from there, you listen, you have this like, it's like this motif of you taking like the call, like, right? Like listening to yourself. So what made the connection between like, I want to be a doctor, okay, I got these bad grades, to, you know, I'm about to go to my friend's classes. Like, was it just because you wanted to be by your friend and all of a sudden you like politics?
I think a combination of that. So I was, at the time I was in this poetry organization on campus, and that's where a lot of my friends were. And so a lot of them were in social sciences or social science. And so going to the class, wanting to hang out, of course, with them, they're upperclassmen. So I'm like, okay, I'm cool. I'm the freshman hanging out with the upperclassmen, right? But then sitting in the class and they're talking about these subjects that really intrigue me, especially for people of color. Again, I know I'm going to probably say that a lot, but just talking about these issues that I felt like were affecting me even as a student at FAMU. So speaking up in those classes, hearing about my friends like homework and being like, ooh, can I help you like with your homework? Like, that's what's up. They're like, no, I have to do this for a grade.
And little did they know you probably would have killed it.
craziness. But I would just go to class with my friends, and eventually I joined different organizations that kind of aligned with that, and I was like, this is really cool. And so that's the reason why I went that way. But I wanted to work on the marketing side. It was always the marketing side of politics.
Oh, there's the connection.
Yes.
So it was always the marketing side. So if you think back to some of the questions that you remember like being interested in asking, what was it about politics then? Because at first I was thinking you had this understanding of how like macro politics affects the person, the individual.
Gotcha.
So I understood that, but then when did it click to say I want to be on the marketing side of politics?
Well, PR and marketing, I feel like kind of overlap. And so for me, it was seeing how these politicians moved, how they presented specific just challenges to their constituents, and being like, they could have said that better, you know. This could have been explained better, especially to, you know, for example, FAMU was going through, when I was there, they were trying to shut down my school. And I was like, look, I need to graduate, you know, so at the time, Rick Scott was the governor. I could not stand that man. And so Tallahassee, the way it's set up, it's the capital of Florida.
Okay.
And so everything in politics that you can think of that affects the whole state goes on there. So I was literally right down the street from that. And so when you're telling me that you're going to shut down my school, and the way that he would present things and just what was going on in the city, it really affected me. And I was just like, no, he could have said that better. You know, he doesn't seem like he cares very much about Black people. You got Florida State up the road, and you care more about their institution than mine.
Yeah.
Why is their degree more important than my education and my degree? So I would go to their classes. I would go protest up at in the Capitol. I went to the governor's mansion at the time and protested. We made him come out in his pajamas.
Yes.
But those were the things that I was really into, because I think mainly because it affected me.
Yeah. You say like they could have said that better. And then you also touch on the fact that he didn't care. So what I'm hearing is like there are, and tell me if I'm going in the wrong direction, but there are decisions being made at this level, and these politicians are making the decisions, and they're not communicating specifically what's happening to the constituents.
Yes.
And it sounds like, yes, he could have said that better, because for me it sounds like maybe he had better intentions than he was communicating.
You know, politics is funny, right? So there's some things where even if you don't have good intentions, you still could have said it better, so people didn't like
feel so alarmed
by
okay.
a specific situation, right?
Got you.
So even if you don't care about me, act like you care, because you're a politician and you're supposed to represent everybody.
I got
you. Know?
So the initial passion is like, listen, as a marketer, you just need to be able to put the people at ease a little bit better, and you're not saying this right.
Yes.
Did you ever think, because I'm thinking like, if depending on what his intentions really were, he didn't need your superpower. Like, I feel like there's somebody who is like his opponent that needs the skills that you're talking about to, one, know how to communicate the change that they see, and then two, be able to connect the dots so that the people who you want to vote for you understand how to get, like, some people will stand up there like, world change, and people are like, my taxes are due tomorrow. How are you going to help me? You talk about world change. Right. So in that regard, I feel like there are some politicians who really are good at the heart, but they don't know how to say it better. Right. And I feel like that's probably where your niche would have been. No,
I wasn't trying to help him.
Oh.
No. But I realized that there was a need, because
he didn't say it right.
Because he was just terrible. He was a terrible politician. And even when they were like, no, he's really not that bad, you know, it's like, nah, he really is terrible. Like, when I think about like how they rearranged downtown, or Tallahassee downtown, Tallahassee is separated by a track, basically. So a lot of the people that, you know, a lot of the poor and middle class lived on the south side, and more established and wealthy people lived on the north side of town. And so they had a bus system that went throughout the whole city. Eventually, they limited the amount of buses going to the south side because they were trying to build up the north side of town. Well, that affects Black and brown people so much, especially at that time, because you work in the city, you work on the north side.
Yeah.
And so when I think about like just stuff like that, and how they went about letting people know what was going on, to me was just like, there was no campaign really to let the people know on the south side, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And this is how this is going to affect you. And so, yeah, you had just like, people became more poor because they had no access to grocery stores. I mean, there's food deserts more so on the south side of town in Tallahassee. So there was so many things going on. And yeah, to your point, I wasn't necessarily going for Rick Scott. He was not my ideal client, if you will.
Right, no, he would have taken your power and used it for whatever. And I don't know him. I don't know politics that much. But what I do appreciate is your passion for politics and informing yourself, and also using your gift, which ends up being marketing, to help educate the people. So that's your personal passion.
Yes.
But then it didn't take you professionally in that way. So for you, all this stuff is going on personally.
Yeah.
When did you decide what you were going to do professionally?
So I went to grad school at the FAM, still thinking that I was going to get into politics. But at the time, guess who was running for president?
Obama?
No.
At the time.
Who was our last president?
Oh, goodness. It's years. Okay, got you.
Yes.
I'm there.
Yes.
He who shall not be named.
Yeah, we're not even going to say his name, you know, the orange man.
Yeah.
But so I was at the time applying to I wanted to get into politics then, either on PR side, marketing side, and couldn't get a job. Didn't want to work with the orange man. So I said, I just transitioned. I was like, I'm not getting into politics because politics is trash right now. And I just don't want to be under his administration.
Yeah.
So at that time is when I started looking into just other niches, social media more specifically. I think social media for a lot of businesses were starting to kind of grow a little bit. But I still didn't have it figured out then, to be quite honest. But that was when I started thinking, okay, maybe there's a different route.
Okay, maybe there's a different route. Social media might be the thing. So that was your first lily pad.
Yes.
And no, we don't have it all figured out yet, but we enjoy what part about the social media marketing at the time?
Ooh, so you probably laughing at me like, girl, you all over the place. The Breakfast Club was starting to be really big back then. And so I was like, okay, they cover politics, they cover entertainment, they're considered kind of a podcast. Maybe this is something I can get into. So I remember like applying to work up in New York. Didn't get the job. Tried as an intern, didn't get that. But that was when I was like, okay, this might be something I can sink my teeth into.
Yeah.
And because it was so interesting and they were utilizing YouTube at the time, I was like, oh, this is really cool. People behind the scenes that you generally, somebody is, you know, radio broadcaster, you generally would not see their face, right? And so they're utilizing this platform to really promote a message. And that's no different in politics. You're utilizing certain platforms to promote whatever you want to talk about. So, so that's kind of how I started seeing some things. I'm like, all right, this is kind of cool. I want to do this. Yeah. So, you know, I probably scared my dad because he's like, you all over the place. Like, what is
Because the radio station seems like there's no connection. But this is like living out true career advice.
The top 3 responses that I get when I ask, why do you want to leave corporate America, are that you want financial freedom, you want to own your own time, and you want to build a legacy for this generation and generations to come. Now, this is not a solo job. In order to transition from your 9-to-5 into entrepreneurship, it's going to take community and it's going to take resources. And I've created the community of pioneers who are going to wrap around you and help you make that transition successfully. So if you're interested in leaving your job, go ahead and click that information below. Let's get into the community and let's transition from your 9-to-5 into entrepreneurship successfully. Now let's get back to the episode.
The way that I used to do traditional career coaching is like, okay, what do you like? What do you do? You like to wash your hair, like you put on makeup. What do you do on a daily basis? What's the skill that you have? They might seem like they don't connect, but if it's like a beauty, you love to do your makeup and you also like, I don't know, writing, then let's figure out what type of writing jobs in this industry you would enjoy, because the skill set, if it's placed in the wrong industry, then you'll not enjoy it. So, hate it. Girl, so you're exploring like, okay, I have this skill set and then I have this passion for politics.
Right.
So I'm leading this skill set in this politics. It ain't happening. So I still have this skill set. What else am I interested in?
Yes.
The Breakfast Club. Let's explore this. It makes sense.
Okay. Look, at the time, you know, explaining it probably sounded crazy.
In the moment, maybe.
Yeah.
Especially since you might not have been able to communicate it as well as like, I'm exploring this passion.
And it was so new. So many businesses weren't utilizing social media at that time. You think about 2014, you did have some businesses, but it wasn't a thing.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
I mean, I would think within the last year or two, businesses on social media has been like a necessity, right?
Yeah.
So, I was exploring, saying, hey, this might be something I could get into. Ended up getting into my first job out of grad school was actually in the AEC industry. I was working at an engineering firm.
AEC?
Architectural engineering construction.
Got you.
So, yeah.
Now that one we know it's gonna connect, but I'm like, what?
I started off as a marketing coordinator.
Okay.
Still in marketing, right?
Yes.
My master's was in marketing, so I do want to make that correlation too.
Got you.
And I was like, okay. So I was thinking that I could make things really creative in the engineering realm.
Didn't go over well?
The engineering or the AEC industry is, as far as marketing is concerned, is kind of behind. They're still passing out like, what is it called? The threefold
like brochures
and stuff like that.
Oh,
Poor baby. Yes, that was the industry I was walking into.
Yeah.
And being that I'm interested in social media and just the digital realm and like how do we promote your business online, they were like, what?
Yeah.
Why do we really need social media? Some municipalities were utilizing like Twitter to kind of give like live updates and whatnot when it came to like construction in certain areas of the city. But for the most part, they weren't utilizing social media the way I felt like they really could. So I was miserable.
Girl, because you're basically trying to change the whole culture of an industry from your cubicle.
And I was young, so I'm like straight out of school. They like, baby, just sit down and do your job. Like, what you trying to do? Like, just sit down
and do your job. You're like, but I want to change this thing. We can do good things.
There's a way that you can communicate with communities and really let them know what's going on when you're building in their area.
Yeah.
You have back to the politics, right? I feel like there's politics in everything. There were times when construction would be going on in certain communities that did not know that there was going to be construction, right? And so they did this terrible job with campaigning or just letting people know what was going on.
Yeah. And
these people were upset, right? Like, you're tearing up my neighborhood, you know, or you just dug a huge hole and put some toxic materials right in my neighborhood, and now my whole community is affected.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I really thought that social media would be the route even back then to let people know this is what's going on.
Yes, and as I listen to you, I understand why a leader or a company would miss the point, because the bottom line incentive is not there.
That's what they used to tell me all the time.
Wow.
But it helps you do your job better when you don't have so much just like back and forth, with the people that you claim to be servicing.
Yeah. Claim is the big word, though. And that, as admirable as it is, I'm in the space as well where you see a huge benefit to the community, and just having to communicate that to the leadership level. I even was in that position before I left my last job, where it's like, we're doing such great work, and if we just communicated a certain way, I wasn't the marketer, I was the program person. But if we just did this, then it would really have such value for us as a company. But they're like, yeah, we don't make community engagement programs. We don't care.
Right.
And so for that makes sense. That makes sense. So then in this role, you're doing marketing for a construction company and you're miserable. What was how long did you stay there?
2 years.
2 years of soul crushing work.
2 years.
What was it like those 2 years? Did you,
Health wise, when you think about when you do something that you don't enjoy, or you feel like there's just a lot of negative forces coming back at you every time you try to make change.
Yeah.
My health was declining. And I'm young.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I should not be. What were you dealing with? Loss of hair?
Migraines. Really bad migraines. I would black out at work.
What?
Yes. Just amount of stress I was under, because it was literally you had this old school way of thinking, and stuff it was to the point where I was like, all right, my God bless her, my manager at the time, she wasn't really tech savvy. So it'd be certain things like, hey, just send me this email, I can update it and send it back to you, kind of thing. And she's like, no, I need you to print this out and highlight everything first and let me see it. And then
you're making my life hard. Yeah.
I'm getting out of school, we're technology,
Yeah.
Do you know who you hired, kind of thing. And so I was really I came home stressed every day. Every day. And so that's when I was like, I need to find an outlet, and I started my podcast back then.
What was your podcast about?
Hip hop and politics. Everything's around politics, right?
Everything's like a mashup with you. Ain't nothing like a straight oranges and apples. No, we're gonna have bananas and a big old, I don't know, gumbo. I have no clue.
It tastes good together.
Politics and hip hop. I love it. Okay.
Yes. So I would I got to interview some really cool people like Chingy, for example.
I did not know he had a political bone in his body.
What? Chingy?
I didn't know.
He's very he's just deep in general. He likes to, what is the word for it? He's just very aware of himself and what's going on around him. So when it comes to education, I think he's said a lot around the education realm when it comes to how people speak. Because in St. Louis, there are theirs and hers, and stuff. And he said he spoke to a principal, for example, saying, "This is how I talk. So this is." English.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're not teaching our kids this in school. So just, like I said, there's politics and everything, even in the way we speak in the work environment, right?
Yes.
So, having conversations with him was really cool, talking about just his career and, the things that he was passionate about. So.
And it was an outlet for you. When you say outlet, I imagine you being able to get some thoughts off of your chest or decompress. How was it an outlet for you, and how did that show up?
Definitely got to speak my mind about what was going on in the city of St. Louis. So the Mike Brown case was going on a few years prior to me moving to St. Louis. But the verdict came in, I'm sorry, not Mike Brown. The verdict came in before I was in St. Louis, but there was another case similar to that while I was in St. Louis. And I remember my job sending me home because they knew there was going to be hell in the city.
Okay.
So being able to talk about just the racial divide in St. Louis via my podcast, because a lot of hip hop influencers, you got your rappers and stuff like that, show up to those type of protests. So yeah, being able to talk about those things on the podcast really, I think, really helped because St. Louis is extremely divided racial wise. There's certain sides of town that I was told not to go to.
Okay.
And you can get lost. So that was the other thing. Like, you don't want to go over here, something might happen to you.
Okay.
So it was a way for me to kind of release that, especially because it was an all black company, but there was a lot of the things we dealt with was racial.
Okay.
So being able to kind of talk about that, and then the hip hop side of it is just my love for music.
So it fed you.
It definitely fed me, and my husband's actually a DJ, so like that side of it was like being able to, you know,
creatives. You know, I'm gonna get into that, but I am still understanding the release, right? So you have this crappy job. It's not the job that's crappy, but it's just not a great fit for you.
Yeah.
And then you have your outlet, right?
Yes.
So did the podcast have anything to do with the click where you decided, okay, I'm going to leave? Because you were there for 2 years. When did that?
It allowed me to be creative. And that's my bone. That's like my foundation.
Got you.
I didn't know it. Like, sometimes you're just creative and you don't realize that's where you're going. But I was doing the podcast. I couldn't do those type of things for the company I was working for. I begged. I remember talking to the CEO about it, like
we should do a podcast.
I wanted to do video editing content for them. So a lot of podcasts, as you know, right, there's a video component to it.
And you're ahead of the time, up to your time at this time.
Yes, there wasn't really too many people doing that.
Yeah.
Breakfast Club to me was like the trailblazers.
For a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to do video content for them. I wanted to do audio, educating people about what they were doing in the community. Because in my head, this is a way not only to meet your stakeholders in the city, but the communities that you were affecting. But I did the podcast, realized that I needed to edit the podcast. Hated editing at first. I was like, this is so hard. Oh my gosh. And my husband really encouraged me. He got me all of the software to start editing the podcast because no one else on my team could do it, and they just didn't have time as well.
So you had a team for the hip hop?
Yes.
And what was the name of it?
It was the Cave Podcast.
The Cave.
The Cave with a K.
Hey, there's so much to dig into. So it's the Cave Podcast, but it was hip hop and politics, and you had a team to manage that.
It was, I had co-hosts. So one, a co-host, and then a producer. He was also a DJ. So he did like all the background, like setting up the video equipment. He's really into tech. But he just didn't have time to edit. So I would do all the editing and get my behind the scenes shots during the podcast and stuff like that. So.
Okay. This is so exciting. This is so exciting. Okay. Now, this is where the click starts to happen, where you're like, I need to leave my job.
Yes.
What happened?
I was coming home really, really stressed. Like, it was really bad. Trying to find different ways again to release that. And people started asking me, like, how are you doing this? Like, how you know so much about social media? Like, can you put my website together for this? Like, people started recognizing me as a marketing person. And I was like, okay, I'll do it for you for $100. I'll put, I'll do sure, $50. I'll do this. Right. I had artists coming to me asking me to manage their social media presence. And so I'm giving them pointers and kind of coaching them, talking to their managers and stuff like that, saying, hey, right now your social media platform, Instagram, doesn't look too great because I don't know what you do, and you say you're an artist, so this is what it needs to look like. So people just started recognizing me in that realm, and so that's when I was like, oh, I got something here. Like, people are coming to me and they actually want to pay me.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's the beauty about like the whole transition. It's like finding where the need already is the most organic way to do it. My journey wasn't specifically as fluid, but like when you're able to find your core audience before you quit your job, that's actually pretty cool. So you start realizing, okay, I'll get paid for it. So it becomes a side hustle.
It becomes, I don't even think it became, like, I looked at it as a side hustle. I was just like, I'm really like, I jumped ship, to be quite honest.
Really? Okay, we're here together.
I didn't have like a real plan, to be quite honest with you. I didn't. I quit my job on my birthday.
Oh shoot, when's your birthday?
May 7th.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, it's summertime.
Quit my job on my birthday. I remember being so scared because my boss and everything bought me like balloons and stuff.
On your birthday?
And I was like, I've been waiting to give y'all this letter before my birthday, but you didn't come to work last time. So now I got this and I got to give it to you. And you giving me nice things. It was, and I was 23, no, I was, I think I was 25.
Okay.
Still like insecure in myself, like, oh my gosh, I don't need to give them this, like, you know. It was also in July I was supposed to be getting married, so think about all the money that has to go into a wedding,
right? And you're cutting off your source of income,
and I'm cutting off my source of income.
Yeah.
Gave them the letter. They're looking at me like, what? You're doing well here, you know, like, is there a way we can convince you? And I'm like, nope. Right after I quit, I started doing Uber. Like,
yeah, okay.
That was how I was making money.
But you had more time to do the podcast?
I was still doing the podcast, yes.
When you quit and you jumped ship, what were you jumping to? You just wanted free time, or you said, I want to do the podcast more, or you said, I just don't want to be here?
I'm going to find a marketing job somewhere else or work for myself. So I just said, at the time at that time I realized like entrepreneurship was something I wanted to get into. It started, my husband was always, I would say, he's like, that's my ride or die right there. He was like, you know, you can do this on your own, right? You know, putting a little bug in my ear. So I just incorporated myself. The same month in July I got married. Started doing Uber. It was like, I'm gonna find some clients somewhere in an agency or something, get hired as a freelancer. Yeah. And that's just how it don't make sense. I really don't know how I got but I did it.
Yeah, I'm so intrigued. So you said something earlier, which I have been waiting to get to this point in your journey, but you said you were raised so independent, right? And for a lot of us independent women, especially independent women entrepreneurs, it's hard to find a match. So you were raised independent.
Yes.
So I'm curious, when you met your husband, and then what was it like to get to know someone and become a wife through the process of being an independent woman?
Yes. Girl. I know I keep saying it, but my life, when I look back on it, I'm just like, it's only God. Seriously. So I'm going to start there. It's only God.
Yeah.
I met him when I was in college, and he was my friend. And he hates when I say this, but like, I knew all the girls he dated. I used to try to hook him up with my friends. To me, he was just a friend.
Yeah.
And we just kept in contact until my senior year. That summer, my parents sat me down and they knew him. So I had introduced, my husband at the time was going to school for engineering. He dropped that too. We quit stuff we don't want to. So my dad is actually an engineer by trade, and so I put my dad and him together. Like, hey, you need a mentor. My dad can probably help you through the process of school and stuff. So my parents really liked him, and they sat me down one day, all serious, like, and they were like, so what's up with you and Dre? And I'm like, what you mean? That's my friend, you know? And they're like, well, I just think you should really talk to him. I can tell there's something there and blah, blah, blah. And at that time, I remember he and I had one conversation that summer about it, just like very passive, like, what if, you know? And I was running. He will tell you I was running. He was like, so what's up? Let's, you know.
What did running look like? What does that look like? It's like, because I have this thing where I deflect. And I don't know I be deflecting. I just be like, see you later, bye.
Something like that. Like he was like, so what's up? I mean, you said you thought, you know, I was attractive or whatever. I was like, yeah, but I don't want to ruin our friendship. And that means a lot to me. And I know the girls you used to date and the stuff you used to do, bro. Like, you ain't about to do that to me. We can stay friends, you know?
Okay.
So I just knew him very, very well. And I remember telling my parents, I was like, I know him so well. And they were like, that's perfect. Like, what do you mean? Because you know him so well, like, you guys would be great together.
Yeah.
And so I think it was like I know it was kind of weird that I remember when this conversation happened, but it was around the 4th of July. And I remember calling him on my way back because I was in grad school at the time, driving back to Tampa to school. And I called him up and I was like, hey, you know, what's up or whatever. You know, it'd be kind of cool if we talked or whatever, you know. And he was like, look, you don't have to make up your mind. Either we gonna talk or I'm not talking to you at all because I can't keep my feelings like, oh
okay,
yeah,
man.
He set me straight. Choking up like, driving like, you put me in my place.
Right, he's serious.
Yeah, it's like, you're not gonna be my friend anymore. So he kind of put some fire into my butt, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I stopped running, I think, starting then.
Oh, you stopped running. Okay, so the moment you stop running, that's you making the decision like, hey, I'm gonna
pursue this a little bit. Yeah.
Now, what was it like to cross over between friend and lover?
Ooh. He was extremely supportive. Like, that was my friend first. And I think that's our foundation. It was really natural for me to be around him. So the love was there already. And it was just a matter of me jumping. I was afraid like the water wasn't going to be deep, but because we were friends, the water was pretty deep, you know? I didn't fall and break my neck.
That's real. You said you were afraid that the water wasn't going to be that deep.
Yeah.
And then when you jumped in, you realized,
I can wade in this. This is not too bad.
That is so good. That is so good.
Yeah.
So you are navigating life. And while you're navigating life, there's a parallel growth happening between you and your friendship with your husband. And then it's like just developing. And then he's like putting bugs in your ear about, hey, you can do this on your own. So it's really always been like pretty.
We're always supportive of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when we first started dating, he was in St. Louis and I was in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So our relationship at first was long distance. So he basically was like helping me through grad school. There were days where I was just like, I can't do this. This is, you know, I was going to I went from a HBCU to a predominantly white institution. And him, you know, I'm talking to him like, these teachers are being kind of like passive aggressive towards me, you know? No, you got this. You got this, you know? So I actually took my first job in St. Louis because of him. I didn't even know where St. Louis was at first.
You just like, I got to be closer. So once you
got
free, okay.
So while I was at this PWI, you know, it got really hard in school. Like, just, you know, some of the teachers were passive aggressive. Some of the students were passive aggressive. And I was just like, I know this stuff, or I know I can really do this. And, you know, like when you go to a HBCU compared to a PWI, even the examples they use to teach you is different. Yeah. They're telling me about yachts, and I'm like, I ain't never been on no yacht. Right. So I don't know. I don't understand this example.
Right.
And I didn't even know that was a thing until I went to a PWI. But
and
anyway,
then you started realizing, hey, this information is not clicking. There's a barrier. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So it was a struggle for me in school. And I would always talk to him. He would always be encouraging. At that time, he was still working in his DJ realm, trying to establish himself, get on the radio, start his business, and start being known around St. Louis. So I think he was just really, really encouraging.
Yeah.
I really don't think I probably would have graduated if I didn't have his support.
Whew.
Yeah.
When I hear the whole story, even you providing a little bit of the challenges, I can imagine, you know, a day in the life of a person who's at a PWI and they're in another soul crushing like experience where it's like, dang, I hate it, and things are super like muggy, but you have this relationship that's sort of like giving you life.
Yes.
And then you still have your passions that's also giving you life. So I'm wondering, like, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, like, you know, we talk about the glam, and I know we've talked about some of this on social media, like the glam of social media, the flexibility, the freedom. I don't think we intend to glamorize it, but we do talk about it from like, oh, I love this, I love that. If you could peel back the layer so someone understands what it looks like to go through entrepreneurship, what was one of the lows that you guys experienced either together or apart where you were like, yo, this entrepreneurship thing is hard, or whatever your realization was?
I started my business in July. And after me and my husband got married, this is us jumping ship again. We moved from St. Louis to Atlanta.
Okay.
And the purpose was for us to start our business. This is the Black Mecca, you know, this is an opportunity for us to really like put our roots down and grind, right? Literally within the first 6 months of us living here, it was like we were living with some friends that ended up not being friends with us afterwards. And just trying to make money right out here, thinking that it was going to be easier than what we thought, right? So I came out here I had one client at the time paying me decent money, but I was undercharging, which tends to be the story of my entrepreneurial life.
Listen, today's price is not going to be tomorrow's price. Just
Amen.
To let you know.
No, but for real, and just to be transparent, for a social media management and advertising at the time, I was working with this production agency, or not agency, but like a small company who was putting on different like events. So older guy, I put together was it Dougie Fresh? He had a Dougie Fresh event. He wanted to put together an event. So I was doing all the advertising for him on social media. I charged him $500.
What year was this? What is this, inflation dollars? What year was this?
This is 2018.
Okay. Yeah. What would you say something like that would have cost, like based on what you know now?
The amount of time and effort and stuff I was putting in, at least $2,000. And that's aside from the actual ad spend, right? So I was running all his ads. I was creating his video ads for him. I was managing his social media. He hadn't, so this is an older gentleman running his company. So he didn't have like digital photos. All his photos were literally, you see it where he gave me all of his photos in frames and told me to scan them
and get them online. You $500? That's a $500 job right there. I'll take all of your pictures and I'll scan them for
That's not even all.
Oh gosh.
He was on the radio. I managed the relationship between him and the radio station to get an ad up.
Oh, you said minimum 2,000. Oh, today's price and tomorrow's price is not the next price. Girl, that's like 5,000 minimum.
Right. But I'm saying 2,000 just for the social media management and the
Oh gosh.
And that's just top of head. But to your point, still, you see, I said 2,000. Just throwing that out there. That's a lot.
It's okay. We're coming up. We're developing. You know, I almost panicked a minute because we'll talk through.
I was doing all of that
for 500. And was it 500 a month or?
Yes.
Okay. But you know what? It gave you a lot of experience. You cannot overlook that. And I'm glad I just thought about that, because for new entrepreneurs, especially the ones who come from corporate, yes, our skill sets are extremely valuable, and we do know what we're talking about. There comes a point in time where we will get to that $5,000 client, but I do think this process was necessary.
Whew. It was hard though.
Yeah.
But definitely necessary.
Yeah. And did you ever do any free work?
Oh yeah.
What was the free work for you? Like, you were doing the same thing for free, child?
No, I did more because...
You did more?
I did more. I was working with this artist for 6 months for free. 6 months for free.
Okay.
And because I had a master's in marketing, I was still trying to figure out what services I wanted to provide. I feel like I was trying to be jack of all trades when I first started. When I realized like it's really important to niche. That's what I learned later on in entrepreneurship, right? You can't do everything for everybody.
Yeah.
I was managing his social media. I was managing his social media. I was doing what is it called? Basically, like I can't think of the word for it right now, but I got a group together, and
not case studies, but like focus groups.
There we go. I put together a focus group.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
For his EP that he wanted to release.
Woo.
Got all that information together, put together a survey and stuff like that.
That's amazing.
Helped him put together, like, just discussing him with like what a press kit would look like. I was doing a lot for free.
Yeah. So when you think about all of the work that you've done, like when I think about KPIs, what KPIs did you learn to measure from like doing all that free work? Or when did you start learning about KPIs and measuring the stuff that you're doing?
I would say when I started working with it's sad. Even when I was working with the production company, putting together these concerts, I understood KPIs in the sense of these are how many tickets we were able to sell because of these ads. I still didn't recognize what the value was because it came easy to me. So it was like, I can do these things. I told you earlier off camera that I work myself I enjoy working. But I didn't see the value still because it came easy to me. So I think that's something I'm still kind of struggling with. Understanding like, yes, I know what it means to me and I understand how helpful it is to the business. And I can tell you how much engagement you've gotten and what that means in your business, how many people you were able to reach. I can explain all of that. But I still don't understand how the customer values it, right? Especially when it comes to social media. So many people look at it like, it's social media. I just need to do it because they say I'm supposed to do it, right? So
I'm thinking about, because I'm a data person, but because I'm a data person and I understand it, I'm just really looking for someone who knows how to create the value and do it and they enjoy it, because it's different when you know how to do it versus when you enjoy doing it. But, you know, because I am in that space, the value for me is being able to look at an episode and know the keywords and then know exactly what I need to put in there so that it can get the return on investment. Now that I have a business model around my podcast, I need to know what do I need, like what does my title need to say in order to drive